Today I'm gonna present you guys about the Vietnam War. My historical question is, how did the United States take a stand against communism in Vietnam? And my thesis is the United States involvement in Vietnam was a stand against communism. So the background information about this war. Okay, so in the beginning of the 16th centuries, some strong country, they want to have more colonies, and France decide to take over the Indochina, which is include Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. So this is the map. And at that time in Vietnam, we have a person which is Phan Bội Châu. He wants peaceful way to against the France, and he sent his student to Japan to study how to make a country become stronger. But then the government of France, they talked to the Japanese, and they send another student back, and also they arrest Phan Bội Châu in Vietnam. And at that time, we have in Vietnam, there's a young man, which is Ho Chi Minh. He think the peaceful way to solve the problem is impossible. So he decided to do something new. So he went to France to study how to do it. And in France, he met some communists, which is from the Soviet Union. And then he became a communist. After that, he made his own soldier, which is own the communist, and fought against France. And in 1954, Vietnam won the war with France. And after that, they signed the Geneva Peace Agreement, which is divide Vietnam by two parts, the north and the south, by the 7 parallel. And the north is the communist, and the capital is Hanoi. And the south is the non-communist, the capital is Saigon. And United States, in 1945, they won the World War II, and after that, the United States and the Soviet Union have a Cold War, which is you guys already know about. So the North leader Ho Chi Minh, 1969, and the South leader Ngô Đình Diệm, 1901 and 1963. He is the president of the South Vietnam. The United States support him to be the president at this time. And this is the United States leader Lyndon B. Johnson, 1908, 1973. The Vietnam War had three main reasons. The first one is the political reason, cultural reason, geographic reason. And the political reason is the result of the Cold War, which is versus Western War. It includes the United States, the Great Britain, France, and the communist world is the Soviet Union. one felt that the other want to destroy this way of life, and the United States didn't want to lose France as an ally against the Soviet. So after Vietnam won the war with France in 1954, the United States decided to have France to support the South to against the communism and its own war. The second reason is the cultural reason. The communists was the most serious threat to the American way of life, and the United States think if they fail to stop communism in Indochina, it would sweep across the rest of Asia. And the capitalism against the communism. The capitalism is a economic system based on open competition in a free market in which individuals and companies own the means of production and operate for profit. The communism is a social system characterized by the common ownership of the means of production and subsistence, by the organization of labor for the common advantage of all members. So, and the last reason is after the World War II, you can see in the 1920s, it's only the Soviet Union is a communist. And in 1940s to 1950s, we have some more country became communism. You can see this is Soviet Union, some country of Europe, China, and after the war Vietnam, in the beginning we had only the north of Vietnam is communist, and after the war all of Vietnam become communist country. That's it.
That's good.
Any question? Yes,
I'm curious about you being from Vietnam, studying about Vietnam history, Vietnamese history. So, was it different when you were reading about Vietnam in an American history book? What were some of the differences?
Yeah, actually a couple of weeks ago, I asked my friends, and she said, I asked her what was the cause of the war, and she said the United States want to have more colonies. That's what they attack now.
Wow.
And I also did when I was in Vietnam too. So
That the United States wanted more land?
yeah,
Huh, and that's what, in your history books, that's what you learned? Huh, so
Yeah.
it wasn't a political,
yeah. The reason
huh.
wasn't clear, you know.
oh, okay, okay. Interesting.
So they just say the Ho Chi Minh want to free Vietnam, and he became a communist.
And of course, it's changed a lot
Yeah,
since.
So I had a question about the Geneva Agreement, the peace agreement.
yeah.
So, did it occur in 1954? You said after the French were kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay, so, didn't it originally call for free elections in Vietnam? Have you heard that?
Of course, the North they have the leader already, Ho Chi Minh, and the South they follow the United States rule, you know. So they have the president, they vote
Mhm.
for him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Geneva Agreement called for, France had been one of the European colonial countries, and you know that. And they were throughout Southeast Asia, like most of the other European countries were. and the US. That's why Japan fought the US in the South Pacific. But when the French lost control of Indochina, when there were people's liberation movements to kick them out, the Geneva Agreement said, okay, have free elections. If you vote for communists, fine. If you vote for the democracy, fine, but it's up to the people. Well, the people voted for the communists, maybe because there are more people in the north than there are in the south. But they held these free elections, Ho Chi Minh won, and then the United States and the UN, I believe at the time, decided to divide the country in two. And so that's what really started the war. It's like then they decide, so anyway, it goes along with the political point of your cause. But you hadn't heard that?
Yes, but I'm not clear about it.
Okay.
That's why I chose this.
Yeah, it was the international community that went in to try and stop the fighting and stop, you know, a potential war, but they made it worse.
Yeah, Vietnam in 16th century is just like the Korea right now.
Just like Korea.
Yeah, Korea right now, the half is communist and the half is supported by the US state.
In the 16th century?
Yeah, Vietnam right now is the same as Korea.
Oh, right now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Korea's right now. Yeah, the same thing.
Okay. Thank you, Kai. Anybody else have
Yeah.
questions for Kai?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't know that much about the Vietnam War, and so my question is like, how did the United States lose to Vietnam? Like,
Say what?
How
How
did,
did-
how did Vietnam lose, I mean, how did Vietnam or how did the
the
United States
lost to Vietnam.
lose to Vietnam?
So that's a great question.
That is a great
And
question.
it's a question, it's a question that first period, we also